following the backing of the National Assembly and assumption of office by the sole administrator. During a broadcast to residents of the state on Thursday, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete-Ibas assured the people of peace and stability, saying he is one of them and he will be ready to listen. Ibas also read out the Riot Act, emphasizing that there won't be room for lawlessness and any act of violence under his watch. He declared that further attacks on oil installations and other critical national assets by any group will not be tolerated. Now let's hear from the sole administrator.
As a son of the Niger Delta, I'm one of you, and I recognize the weight of this moment, the expectations of the people, and the challenges that lie ahead. The uneasy calm that pervades the state is palpable, and I feel the weight of families, young and old, businesses that have made both little and huge investments in Rivers State, uncertain what the immediate future holds. Mr. President's proactive and decisive action to declare a state of emergency and my subsequent appointment is primarily to ensure stability of livelihoods for citizens and residents, restore peace, security, and stability for economic activities to continue to thrive, and avert any disruptions to the way of life of the people of Rivers State. My mandate is clear: to restore law and order, stabilize the polity, and to create the necessary conditions for the full restoration of democratic institutions and representation.
Okay, Emeka, you heard the sole administrator there talking to the good people of Rivers State. Now, in a state broadcast, he has called for peace and stability. Your thoughts on this?
Well, like he said in a short interview I saw on Facebook, he said Port Harcourt is peaceful. So, I mean, I think he himself is even surprised, you know. Everywhere is calm. Nobody is fighting. The Trans-Niger pipeline that was said to have been sabotaged, it was just a fire incident. It's been fixed. It's in the media. It's in the media that it was a fire. And the governor himself has come out to say that, you know, the things attributed to him by the Attorney General of the Federation were not correct. That look at the House of Assemblies is 80% completed. And so we was trying to build a more befitting House of Assembly so that it didn't prevent the lawmakers from sitting. These things, you know, in the public domain. So the idea is this, you know, that some sentiments have been expressed.
Okay, but Emeka, if you say that, oh, the explosion, 2 persons were arrested.
Yes, the police.
Investigation is still ongoing.
Still on, yes, but the statement has been released, talking about the fact that it's in the media. I'm not bringing it up. It's in the media. So what I'm saying essentially is that I, for one, don't, you know, I'm a Democrat, and I don't believe you need to tamper with democratically elected. Are you saying that
the state of emergency was unjustified?
Yes.
Or what?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because democracy is basically about pushing the interests of the people and going the extra mile to resolve conflicts. And I don't think this conflict, the conflict in the Rivers State, had got to the point whereby it could not be resolved. As a matter of fact, the PANDEF met with the president, leaders of the PANDEF met with the president. And the president said they should go back and meet with the parties. And then what happened? PANDEF said they met with the governor, he made himself available, but the other parties refused to make themselves available.
Emeka, let's not get distracted. Let's stay with the sole administrator, you know, the broadcast. Yeah. Do you think he was able to reach out to the people? Do you think his message, you know, resonates with the people?
No, of course.
You know, most of the things he said,
like I said, yes, because
do you think he said the right? He said the right thing.
If when he landed, he met a riotous situation.
Yes,
he met a rowdy situation. He would have, you know, started firing from the hips. His comments would have been very tough. He would have used very tough words. But you saw how relaxed he was. So that means that he believes that the path, to peace, that the path to restoring due democratic order, will be, that the journey will be a short one. So we're just hoping that the stakeholders will agree for the journey to be a short one. Maybe something just within maybe 3 weeks, 1 month, not 6 months. Because it is also not a good, it's not a nice picture. Talk about, 26 years after the return of democracy, to be talking about,
sole administrator.
No. I for one, I feel ashamed that this is happening.
All right, Tunde, your thoughts on this, the broadcast, and also, some of the stakeholders in Rivers State, they see this sole administrator, as illegal. They don't agree with him. But what should the sole administrator do or seem to be doing to get that acceptability for it to achieve its objectives?
Well, I think I disagree with you on the fact that somebody is not accepted. See, it takes two little kids to lit a fire. It takes an elder to quench that fire.
Okay.
If there's no crisis in River State, it will not get to this level. But like he said, there's no reason for us, after practicing for 26 years, to still create a situation, because I think the situation in River State was deliberately created. Yeah. The tension in River State was deliberately created either by those people in government and those people who believe they are not doing the right thing to exacerbate tension. Because if it is true that there was really tension, there's no reason for the governor to issue that kind of thing, to threaten, to talk as if it was the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria. When you say that you are putting the youth on notice, we heard it. So he unnecessarily shot himself in the feet. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Because unnecessarily he created that particular tension to warrant, like, if two kids are fighting in the house, if you fight in such a way that the instruction will not be taken to the house, elders outside will not come and say what is happening here. But unfortunately for the combatants, for the two factions in River State, they have not been able to bring peace to that state. And looking at the economic importance of River State to Nigeria, I as the commander-in-chief, maybe I would have done something earlier than this one, because it will appear as if the two people, they are not looking at the interest. You think instead of the emergency
should have come in earlier than this?
Something like this coming earlier. I even believe that the state of emergency is a soft landing for the two parties. The fact that the president can even dissolve the House of Assembly, it means nobody has an upper hand now. Let us now go back to the drawing board and do what we are supposed to do. So I think all the parties should go back to the drawing board. Now people know that they have lost their positions. And somebody who is a governor has lost his position. Members of the House of Assembly too have lost their position. All the combatants who are urging the two parties on have lost their position.
For a period.
For a period of time.
So let us go by a short period.
Well, I hope that they will allow it to be a short period. Because emergency declaration can be extended and it could be shortened, depending on the environment that is prevailing at that time.
Now, just back to that question I asked you, I said that what should he do? For acceptability, one, and also to achieve its objectives, so that maybe it won't even get to 6 months
I think the most
the governor, deputy governor can return, and the lawmakers.
In any conflict management is fairness.
Fairness, okay, that's
it should be fair to all parties concerned in the crisis. If it's fair to all parties concerned, and it's seen to be fair by his conduct and pronouncements, that 6 months may not last more than 6 months. Okay. And those people who are in the conflict too, they should demonstrate, like I said, sincerity is very important when you are in a conflict. It is possible for a couple to be fighting in the house. When people come from outside and they prefer as if nothing happens, and when the visitors leave, they can resume their fighting. In other words, they make up their mind that they want to retain war. But if they don't make up their mind, they will allow people outside to settle that conflict for them. And if you allow people outside to settle your conflict, you are not likely to be won again. So people in the River State and the combatants, because I believe they are factors, they should know that they should give the man a chance. They should believe what he has said, that it's going to be fair. Let him be fair to all manners concerned.
And let him be seen to be
fair to all manner of people concerned.
Now, Emeka, what lessons can be learned from, the impasse, in Rivers State that should inform the agenda of the administrator?
You see, for me, the administrator is an elderly man. So he should behave like a father. He's not a politician. At least we, can safely say it doesn't belong to any political party. As based on information available to us up to this moment. So he should not get himself, he has no need to get himself involved in the fray, this way or that way. Should just be neutral. Go there, bring the parties to the round table, and then tell them that I am here as an elder statesman. I'm not here to drag any tuber of yam with you or to drag any cup of rice with you. This is your state. And it is a shame when outsiders have to come in to resolve, a dispute between members of a family. The same family. You should be able to go in and resolve your issues. Because you see, politicians only fight when the benefits, I say it and I'll say it again. I've said many times, when the benefits have not been shared, according to agreed ratios, that's when politicians fight. When the meat is shared according to agreed ratios, politicians don't fight. So this fight is basically about, your own big past my own no reach, as I want. That is it. It's not as if anybody is fighting for the people. After all, minimum wage was increased to 85,000. Government declared 70,000. In River State is 85,000. So is it that the interest of the people is not being met? No. Okay, but the people deserve better. The people deserve, better living conditions. The ordinary man on the street, he needs to feel, when you say rivers, the treasure basket of the nation, he needs to feel it in his pocket. He needs to feel it on the table. He needs to be able to send his children to school, to pay medical bills, pay his house rent. He needs to be able to take care of his family. So when you're talking about this, the man on the street is wondering, what are these people talking about? Poverty, we are talking about treasure basket, but poverty is ravaging me. I cannot feed my family well. So all of these conflicts is just a disgrace, it's just a shame. That people who are well fed, because the people involved in these things are wealthy people, they are educated people, so they are not hungry people. So all they are just fighting for is just to add more to the excess that is already budget. Let the truth be told. So the administrator, even though people like me, his assumption of office, is illegal to people like me. But I'll say, okay, since that is the situation right now, he should ensure that peace returns. And he should let Mr. President know. Those who have been making incendiary remarks, after the local government election, 5 people were killed, because certain people invaded the local government secretariat. That should be investigated. That should be dealt with. So call all those who have been making incendiary, even calling the governor names and all of that. Things they will not tolerate. Let them be told that, listen, enough is enough. Governor, Mr. Governor, Mr. Speaker, members of the House of Assembly, come together, work for the interests of this state, and that's final.
Now, in rounding this whole conversation, I need your opinion on something, because I've heard different, opinion on this matter. On the issue of Rivers State, do you think the president, you talked about that this state of emergency should have come in earlier. Now, I want to ask that, do you think the president has done enough in resolving the impasse in Rivers State?
Look, we have read and we have heard of several meetings that were held not only in open doors, behind closed doors, within the two combatants, two parties. And we have seen, and Nigerians have known, that there has not been any remorse on any party
on both
to
parties.
Work, both parties to work together. Number two, we have to know the fact that if you read the Supreme Court judgment, if the Supreme Court can declare, at least as for now,
yes,
I don't know of any other court. Nigeria is an independent and sovereign country.
True.
There is no other court that is bigger than the Supreme Court.
The Apex Court, exactly.
If for the Supreme Court to declare that there is no government in Rivers State, that is enough. If you read the President's statement and you read what the Supreme Court said, if you kill one arm of government, then it means something is wrong with that government. If the legislative is no more there, only the executive and the judiciary. Before you know it, something will be done against the judiciary too. So it will be left with the executive alone. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, the assault we had on the chambers of the House of Assembly is an assault on an institution. not even the people in that institution. When you bring down an institution, and the problem of Nigeria and Africa is that we don't respect our institutions. When we have strong institutions, there will be stability in the governance. If there's a judgment by a court of appeal or the Supreme Court or High Court, if there's a judgment by the High Court, if you are not satisfied, appeal, go to the appeal court. Okay. If you are not satisfied with the appeal court, go to the Supreme Court. Then after the Supreme Court, you can still go back and say, well, hands off. But for you to say that any judgment is not acceptable to you, then we are not practicing democracy. That's why I'm saying that the governor, by that particular statement, actually triggered that thing. And if the governor of a state, you are the chief security officer, but you also have to know that the commander-in-chief of the armed forces is responsible for all parts of Nigeria. Exactly. And he has to guarantee that. If you look, what triggered the fall of the First Republic just started as a minute thing. Before they know it, because the government was weak, they could not control it. Okay. Somebody was brought in as administrator, and later on, they returned the governor. Yes. He has no control of the people. But everybody knew that. Look, I believe that if Fubara has the people have his love, he will go back to that place and there will be a difference.
There will be a difference.
There will be a difference. We will go back to that place.
But the lawmakers should.
You think he would have learned his lesson?
I'm talking about the law. Yeah. I'm not even talking about any politician. Let us respect what the law says.
What the law says.
The Supreme Court has given a judgment. And that judgment is needed for peace to reign and for democracy to sustain in Nigeria.
Exactly.
The Supreme Court has spoken.
I remember even on this, on Johnny's Hangar, that Babajide had actually said something. I know, we discussed something around this kind of topic, the way it happened in Edo State. Okay. Under the former governor, Godwin Obaseki, and he really had strong words about the fact that the House of Assembly couldn't function, the way it ought to. And I think maybe, I'm just guessing that maybe Supreme Court now looked at how all these things have been, even under the former governor Wiki. Like my colleague talked about, allowing the legislature to function. But the legislature itself should also lend itself to the advancement of democracy. If the Supreme Court said that the governor should represent the 2025 budget, all this political bickering and all that should have been set aside. Let the governor present the budget. You sort it out. The next thing, you shut him out, you now brought an impeachment notice. You could have, first of all, allowed the budget to be passed. Salaries being paid, essential services, public services and all of that, security agencies, being taken care of, the civil servants paid, the contractors and all that, then you people can continue with your
all right, gentlemen, I'm sorry, but we need to go to our final story, okay? Let's take a trip to your state. Aftermath of a stampede that led to the death of about 35 children at an event in December 2024 in Ibadan, Oyo State, the matter is to be settled out of court. The state government has dropped all charges against a former wife of the Ooni of Ife, Naomi